a textbook, they always have an example which they have a solution for. And a textbook solution writes too many words. It's nice if you're reading something, because if you're trying to learn it on your own, you need more words. But you want to know as a student, what do I have to show if I get a question like this? What does my work have to look like? So what is always going to happen is you'll notice off to the side on an example 1, there is a similar question. This is the one that we're going to do for our notes. So we're going to do the one off to the side. We're going to show our work, but I'm going to explain it while we're doing it. And you're going to see what is required of me if I had this same question on a test. What would I have to show? Okay? So when we read the question, here's the graph of g of x. And like I said earlier, we have those 4 graphs that we did to begin with. That's one type. Another type of question is they just give you a random graph. And on this random graph, they say sketch the image. So the image is the result after the graph has been moved, after each translation. Write the equation of the image graph in terms of the function g, and state the domain and range of each function. This question's pretty full. They ask us to do 3 things. So we've got to be careful with that in a question 2. Sometimes you get so excited you solve part of it, you just move on to the next question. And that's really bad on a test, because you might be losing 2 or 3 marks just because you didn't finish the question. So here, first of all, we want to translate it 4 units to the left. Again, I'm going to color code things. I'm going to do A in blue. 4 to the left is really easy. Just take this point. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move it 4 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move each of the points 4 to the left. Connect the dots. And you finish the graph. That was fairly easy. Now, we have done the first sentence here where it says sketch the image graph. Next, it says write the equation of the image graph. This language comes up a fair bit, so I want to highlight it, because one of the things I've noticed with students is that you understand it when I do it, and sometimes you don't listen to the instruction parts. And then you get to a test, and you put your hand up and say, what does this mean? Right? On a test and exam, you're expected to know what things mean. So when those things that I know that students get messed up on with language, I'm going to highlight it and really talk to you about it so that you can pay attention to it. So in terms of the function g, this means that you're going to write an equation with g on the left side. So I want to write a new equation. An equation has an equal sign. It has something on both sides. So I write y equals. And the pattern we've been noticing, that if you're moving left and right, that happens inside the function. So writing this in terms of g, what has happened is I've started with g, but I moved it 4 to the left, and I show that by writing an x plus 4 inside of the function. And then, read the question again. We've done the second thing. Finally, it says state the domain and range of each function. So the domain is your x values. 2 ways that you could write your domain, just practicing both ways. When you're asked to write a domain, you get to choose which way or which form you want to write. Okay, domain is your x values. Can you see that I have a smallest x value of -5? And then my biggest x value is 2. So I would write that x has to be between -5 and 2. With the less than or equal signs, this is called set notation. You could also write this in interval notation, where we make an interval with the n points, and in this case we use square brackets when it's equal to it. We'll use round brackets when it's not equal. I'm going to switch to green for B. Here we want to move things 1 unit up, so I take each of my points and shift them 1 up, connect the dots. Well, I'm not very good at connecting dots. Wow, that's a very big eraser. There we go. And to write the equation in terms of the function g, now that I've moved up, that +1 has to happen outside of the function. So my function is g of x. When it's inside the brackets where the x is. When it's outside, it happens afterwards, so just a +1. And again, now my domain, smallest x value is -1. My biggest x value is 6. And for my range, my smallest y value is 3. Oh, I didn't even... See, I told you, sometimes you get excited about moving on. Did you see in the blue part A, I didn't do the range? I got so excited about moving on. Okay, I'll do it at the end. We'll finish the one that we're on. Our range for the green one, the smallest y value is 3, and the biggest y value is 6. And then we'll go back to our blue one and do the range for that one. The smallest y value is 2, and the biggest y value was 5. So I talked earlier about how pre-calculus is particular. So some strategies we can do to make sure that we can start to develop habits so that we're particular. Once you're done a question, read it again. Check that you've done everything the question asked for. Sketch the image graph after each translation. I did that for A and B. Write an equation of the image graph in terms of the function g. Yes, I've done that for the blue one, and I've done that for the green one. Then finally, state the domain and range of each function. If I checked it over, I would have realized I fixed, if I didn't realize earlier, I would have realized, ooh, I missed my range on the blue one. So by checking it over, I just make sure that I have all of those things. Right? Because if you get a test back, and you're like, oh, I didn't read that, don't you get frustrated? You call those like stupid mistakes. Like, I just wasn't thinking. And you're mad at yourself because it's like, I deserve that extra mark, or I deserve that extra half mark. Okay? So we have to develop habits so we make as little of those mistakes as possible. But I guarantee you will make them. You will make mistakes where you're going to look back and you'll be like, oh, what was I thinking? So we'll do an example. I'll make a video like this, and then once we're done an example, I am going to get you to turn to your homework, and the homework starts at the end of the book, and you write all of your answers to your homework in the book, so it starts on page 169, and I want you to circle the number 4, circle the number 5, circle the number 6 and circle the number 7. We will not usually, although today I'm going to give you a minute, but we'll not usually have time to work on this. Okay? So then you get home and your job is before tomorrow to have these questions done. And if they're circled, when you turn to your homework, you don't have to flip back and forth to see which ones was I supposed to do. You just know you're supposed to do the circled ones. And sometimes you're going to be studying for your test, and you might look through your old homework and be like, ooh, I never did 7. Maybe I should try that now.